In this video, we will share what students will be learning, but we will also share some information about what these lessons help students figure out and how they will eventually use these pieces to make sense of the problem of COVID-19 and what we need to do to slow the spread of the virus. Remember in Lesson 4, students come away with the idea that masks and social distancing help reduce spread, but they're left with the question, why is that true? How does this help us think about how the virus is spread? The pieces of science ideas in Lesson 5 help students understand this. But in addition, what students figure out in Lesson 5 and 6 help them understand that all of the strategies they learn are important to protect themselves, but even more so, to help keep all people in the community safe. In Lesson 5, students figure out that the virus that causes COVID-19 spreads most easily to and from someone's mouth and nose through respiratory droplets. These droplets leave a person's body when they sneeze, cough, or talk. Students investigate how a virus gets into our bodies from those respiratory droplets. From there, students look at how masks are constructed and how they act as a barrier for the respiratory droplets that viruses disperse in. This information helps begin to put together some ideas about why wearing masks over the mouth and nose, as well as social distancing, can help reduce the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Once students have this information, they are given the space to think about and discuss the idea of mask mandates. This discussion is specifically focused on thinking about who is the most protected when everyone is required to wear a mask. Students are asked to consider if a mandate would be fair to everybody, and to consider the ways it is or is not fair in parallel with considering the impact of those that might be affected if people were not required to use masks, such as the essential workers who continued to support communities and could not stay home. If students are already familiar with droplet-based transmission of viruses, and convinced that masks are effective in slowing virus spread, you may wish to replace the investigation with the simulation in the Lesson 5 extension. You may also wish to use this extension after Step 7 if time permits. This extension explores the effects of groups of people wearing masks via a simulation and supports students in thinking about the effectiveness at a community level.
In Lesson 5, the focus of how people are mitigating the risk or how they could protect themselves from becoming infected with the COVID-19 virus was centered at the scale of each individual person. However, at the end of Lesson 5, students are asked to begin to start considering actions at the community level when they consider fairness and impacts of mask mandates. Lesson 6 begins by returning to the driving question board to decide that we wanted to learn more about vaccines. Since we've learned about what the virus is and how to reduce transmission, it seems like we should also know about what protections exist in case an individual does happen to come in contact with the virus. Students learn about what vaccines are and how they work. They then experience a simulation that helps them see what the effects of the vaccine are, not only on an individual level where they're a benefit, but really a community level protection as well. The lesson continues by putting the pieces together. Students are able to take everything they learned so far and use a model called the Swiss cheese model to understand that combining all of these risk mitigation strategies will give individuals and ultimately the community the strongest protection against the COVID-19 virus. This sets students up for Lesson 7 as they take a deeper dive into how this ties back to the community, and in Lesson 8 as students ultimately create a final model that answers the question, how do people end pandemics? By considering the actions of individuals that contribute to the threat, risk, and protection of the community.